Ladies and gentlemen, prepare to be astonished. This is the moment you've all been waiting for.
The year was 1975, and the television studio fell completely silent. Red Skelton, America's beloved comedian, stood under the bright lights with tears in his eyes. He had just been asked about Dean Martin's mother, Angela Crocetti, who had passed away only days before. Everyone expected a joke, a light-hearted comment, or maybe a gentle change of subject. But what happened next would leave the entire audience speechless and create one of the most powerful moments in television history. Before we continue with this incredible story, if you appreciate tales of true friendship and respect from Hollywood's golden age, please hit that like button and subscribe to our channel. Stories like this remind us of values that matter, and we share them every week. To understand the depth of what happened that evening, you need to know about the friendship between Red Skelton and Dean Martin. These weren't just two entertainers who crossed paths at Hollywood parties. They were brothers in every sense except blood. Red Skelton was born Richard Bernard Skelton in 1913 in Vincennes, Indiana. He grew up in poverty so severe that he started working at age 7 to help his family survive. By the time he was a teenager, Red was performing in medicine shows, traveling circuses, and vaudeville stages across America. He understood struggle. He understood what it meant to climb from nothing to something. Dean Martin, born Dino Paul Crocetti in 1917 in Steubenville, Ohio, came from an Italian immigrant family. His father Gaetano was a barber, and his mother Angela was the heart and soul of their household. Angela spoke mostly Italian and barely knew English, but she raised her children with an iron will wrapped in unconditional love. Dean grew up speaking Italian at home, working in his father's barbershop, and dreaming of something bigger than the steel mill town that surrounded him. By the 1950s, both Red and Dean had conquered Hollywood. Red Skelton had his own television show that dominated the ratings for 2 decades. Dean Martin had become a superstar, first as part of the legendary Martin and Lewis comedy team, then as a solo entertainer, actor, and member of the famous Rat Pack alongside Frank Sinatra and Sammy Davis Jr. But success never changed the core of who these men were. Red remained the kind-hearted comedian who remembered his humble beginnings. Dean, despite his cool, casual image as a martini-sipping playboy, was a devoted family man who called his mother every single Sunday without fail. Angela Crocetti was more than Dean's mother. She was his anchor, his connection to his roots, and the person who kept him grounded when fame threatened to sweep him away. Red Skelton had met Angela many times over the years at Dean's home. He saw how Dean's entire face would light up when his mother entered a room. He witnessed the respect, the love, and the deep Italian family bond that connected them. In early 1975, Angela Crocetti fell ill. Dean canceled performances and rushed to be by her side. For weeks, he barely left the hospital, holding her hand and speaking to her in Italian just as they had done throughout his childhood. Red Skelton, like many of Dean's close friends, checked in regularly, offering support in any way he could. When Angela passed away on a cold morning in January, Dean Martin was devastated. The man who had made millions laugh, who seemed unshakable on stage, who projected an image of effortless cool, that man was brought to his knees by grief. He withdrew from public life, canceled all his appearances, and surrounded himself only with family. The entertainment world didn't know how to handle Dean Martin's grief. In 1975, celebrities were expected to maintain their image at all costs. Publicists worked overtime to keep stars looking perfect, powerful, and unbothered by life's challenges. Showing real emotion, real pain, real vulnerability, that wasn't part of the Hollywood playbook. Some television producers and journalists saw Angela's death as a story to exploit. They wanted interviews with Dean. They wanted photographs of him at the funeral. They wanted to know how America's cool crooner was handling the loss of his mother. The gossip columnists were relentless, camping outside Dean's home and trying to get comments from anyone who knew the family. Dean's friends in the entertainment industry formed a protective circle around him. Frank Sinatra made it clear that anyone bothering Dean would answer to him personally. Sammy Davis Jr. visited the Martin home daily, sitting quietly with his grieving friend. And Red Skelton, Red did something different. Red understood that grief wasn't something to be photographed or discussed for entertainment. He had lost his own son, Richard, in 1958 when the boy was only 10 years old. Red knew the crushing weight of losing someone you love more than life itself. He knew that grief doesn't follow a schedule, doesn't care about television ratings, and cannot be performed for an audience. While others tried to get Dean to talk about his mother for their shows or magazines, Red simply showed up. He sat with Dean in silence. He brought food that went uneaten. He made himself available without demanding anything in return. That's what real friendship looked like. Not in the spotlight, not for publicity, but in the quiet moments when someone needs you to simply be there. But then came the television interview that would change everything. Red Skelton was scheduled to appear on a major talk show to promote his upcoming television special. The interview was supposed to be lighthearted, funny stories from his career, jokes about his famous characters, discussion of his comedy routines. The audience was there to laugh, and Red was there to make them laugh. The host, however, had other plans. Sensing an opportunity for a dramatic moment that would boost ratings, he decided to ask Red about Dean Martin and his mother's recent death. It was a calculated move, designed to catch Red off guard and create an emotional television moment that would be talked about for weeks. The question came about 15 minutes into the interview, right after a commercial break. The host leaned forward with practiced concern and said, "Red, I know you're close friends with Dean Martin. We were all saddened to hear about the loss of his dear mother, Angela. Dean has been out of the public eye since her passing. Can you tell us how he's doing? What kind of woman was Angela Crocetti?" The studio audience, which had been laughing moments before, fell silent. The cameraman zoomed in on Red's face. The director in the control room knew they had struck gold. This was the kind of raw, emotional moment that would be replayed on news programs across the country. Red Skelton's expression changed completely. The smile that had been on his face disappeared. His eyes, which had been sparkling with comedic energy, became serious and focused. He took a long, deep breath and looked directly at the host with an intensity that made the interviewer visibly uncomfortable. "You want to know about Angela Crocetti?" Red said softly, his voice carrying none of its usual jovial tone. "You want me to talk about Dean's mother on your television show while my friend is at home mourning the woman who gave him life?" The host started to respond, perhaps to clarify his intentions or smooth over the tension, but Red raised his hand gently and continued. "Let me tell you something about respect," Red said, his voice growing stronger. "Let me tell you something about what it means to honor someone's grief, instead of using it for entertainment." What Red Skelton said next would become legendary in television history. He didn't attack the host. He didn't storm off the stage. Instead, he did something far more powerful. He spoke from the heart with a wisdom and grace that transformed the entire atmosphere in that studio. "Angela Crocetti," Red began, his voice filled with reverence, "was a woman who came to America with nothing but hope and courage. She raised her children to be good people before she taught them to be successful people. She kept her family together through the Depression, through hard times, through every challenge that life threw at them." Red paused, and you could hear the emotion building in his voice. "I watched Angela with Dean over the years. I saw how she would touch his face with her hands and speak to him in Italian, just like she did when he was a little boy. I saw how Dean, this big Hollywood star, would become a child again in his mother's presence, in the best possible way." The audience was completely silent now, hanging on every word. This wasn't the funny Red Skelton they had come to see. This was a man speaking truth about something sacred. "You asked me to talk about her death," Red continued, looking directly at the host. "But I'd rather talk about her life. Angela Crocetti taught her son that fame means nothing if you forget where you came from. She taught him that money can't buy character. She taught him that the most important thing in life is how you treat people. Not just the powerful people, not just the famous people, but everyone." Red's voice grew even more passionate. Dean Martin's success, his talent, his ability to make millions of people happy, that all came from the foundation his mother built. She didn't speak much English, but she spoke the universal language of love, sacrifice, and unwavering support for her children. Then Red turned to the camera, speaking directly to the viewers at home. "Right now my friend Dean is grieving. He's not worried about television appearances or movie roles or hit records. He's remembering his mother, the way she smelled when she hugged him, the sound of her laughter, the strength in her hands that worked so hard to provide for her family." The host tried to interject again, perhaps sensing he had made a mistake, but Red wasn't finished. "I'm going to tell you something I learned when I lost my own son," Red said, and now there were visible tears in his eyes. Grief is not entertainment. Loss is not a story for ratings. When someone you love dies, the world doesn't stop, but it should slow down enough to let you feel what you need to feel. Red looked around the studio at the audience, many of whom were now wiping away their own tears. "So no, I won't tell you how Dean is doing. I won't share private moments of his pain for your curiosity. What I will tell you is this. Angela Crocetti raised a man who knows how to love, how to honor his family, and how to be real in a town full of pretend. And that's the greatest tribute any mother could have." The studio remained completely silent for what felt like an eternity. Then slowly, one person in the audience began to clap. Then another. Then another. Within seconds, the entire studio was on their feet, giving Red Skelton a standing ovation that lasted several minutes. The host, visibly moved and perhaps ashamed of his initial question, simply nodded and said, "Red Skelton, ladies and gentlemen. A true friend and a man of incredible character." What happened after that television appearance became the stuff of Hollywood legend. The interview was replayed on news programs across America. Newspapers printed Red Skelton's words in their entirety. Letters poured into the television station, thousands of them, praising Red for his dignity, his friendship, and his refusal to exploit someone else's grief for entertainment. But the most important reaction came from Dean Martin himself. 3 days after the interview aired, Dean called Red Skelton. According to those close to both men, Dean was crying as he thanked his friend. Red had done what few people in Hollywood were willing to do. He had stood up for what was right even when cameras were rolling and ratings were at stake. "You honored my mother without saying anything I wouldn't want said," Dean told Red. "You protected me when I couldn't protect myself. That's what real friendship is." The two men grew even closer after that moment. When Dean eventually returned to performing, one of the first people he called was Red Skelton. They remained devoted friends for the rest of their lives. Their bond strengthened by that moment when Red chose respect over ratings. The lesson from this true story resonates just as powerfully today as it did in 1975. In our modern world of social media, instant news, and constant connectivity, we've somehow forgotten the sacred nature of grief. We share everything, including other people's pain, without thinking about the consequences. Red Skelton taught us that some moments are too precious, too personal, too painful to be used as content. He showed us that true friendship means protecting someone's dignity, even when the whole world wants you to expose their vulnerability. He demonstrated that having a platform doesn't mean you have to use it to satisfy other people's curiosity at the expense of someone you love. Angela Crocetti never became famous herself, but through her son Dean and through the respect shown by men like Red Skelton, her legacy lived on. She represented millions of mothers, immigrant mothers, working-class mothers, mothers who sacrificed everything, who deserve honor, not gossip. When Dean Martin performed again, he dedicated his first show to his mother's memory. He spoke briefly about her, his voice shaking with emotion, and then he sang "Everybody Loves Somebody," his biggest hit. But those who knew him understood that the real tribute had already been given by Red Skelton, who had honored Angela's life by protecting her son's grief. Years later, when Red Skelton himself faced personal challenges and public scrutiny, Dean Martin was there for him in the same way, quiet, supportive, and fiercely protective. That's how real friendships work. That's how real character shows itself. The entertainment industry has changed dramatically since 1975. Television is different. Fame is different. The way we share information is different. But one thing hasn't changed: the need for decency, respect, and the understanding that some things are more important than ratings or clicks or likes. Red Skelton's moment of courage on that television show reminds us that we have choices in how we treat others, especially in their most vulnerable moments. We can choose to exploit or to protect. We can choose to gossip or to guard. We can choose to use someone's pain for our own gain, or to stand as a shield around their grief. Angela Crocetti, the Italian immigrant who raised Dean Martin, probably never imagined that her death would teach America a lesson about respect and friendship. But through Red Skelton's words and actions, her final gift to the world was a reminder of values that never go out of style: loyalty, dignity, and the courage to do what's right even when everyone expects you to do otherwise. If this story touched your heart and reminded you of what real friendship and respect look like, please like this video and subscribe to our channel. We share more inspiring true stories from Hollywood's golden age every week. Stories that remind us of the values that truly matter. Hit that notification bell so you never miss a story that might change how you see the world. And in the comments below, tell us, have you ever had a friend who protected you when you were at your most vulnerable? Share your story, we'd love to hear it. The friendship between Red Skelton and Dean Martin lasted until Red's death in 1997. Dean Martin, who died later that same year, never forgot the man who had honored his mother's memory and protected his grief when the world wanted to turn it into entertainment. Their story remains a testament to what real friendship looks like. Not in the spotlight, but in the moments when someone needs you to simply be there and do what's right.